If your company or one of your business units is starting its global journey, how would you decide where to go first? For companies in highly global industries such as semiconductors, social media, mobile gaming apps, the answer is easy. You are global from day one. Customers everywhere can access or buy your products and services from the central location. Most industries, however, are not so global. In fact, some, such as discount retailing and cement, are highly multi-domestic. For companies in these industries, rapid globalization can be very dangerous. They would take on far more complexity than they can handle, and the risk would be very high that they fail simultaneously in a large number of countries. How should companies set priorities across country markets? The answer depends on two factors: the strategic importance of the market and the firm's ability to exploit that market. The strategic importance of a market depends on market size, growth rate, and the potential for learning. Market size and growth rate depend on several factors: the country's population, demographics, income levels, climate, population density, cultural norms, stage of development, and so forth. Consider, for example, locomotives. The market for such equipment is relatively mature in developed economies, mainly replacements, but very large in emerging economies which need to build vast rail networks. On the other hand, the market for luxury cars is much larger in developed rather than in emerging economies. In terms of learning opportunities, the key factor is whether the market is populated by sophisticated and demanding customers. Such customers force the company to meet the world's toughest standards for quality, cost, cycle time, and other attributes, thereby giving it a head start on leading edge innovations. For example, France and Italy are leading edge markets for high fashion clothing, a fact of significant importance for a company such as DuPont, which manufactures a variety of textile fibers. Similarly, US is the world's leading edge market in the information technology sector. The second factor, ability to exploit a market, depends on the height of entry barriers and the intensity of competition within the market. Entry barriers are likely to be low when there are no regulatory barriers and the new market is similar to the company's home market. However, even when entry barriers are low, intense competition can forestall the company's ability to exploit the market. The US market for apparel retailing is very large, very open. However, it is also brutally competitive and has proven to be a graveyard for foreign entrants, such as the British retailer Marks and Spencer. A firm's strategy for markets that are strategically important but also easier to exploit should be enter rapidly. For a company such as Nike, an example might be China. In contrast, the firm can be much more opportunistic about markets that are not all that strategically critical. For example, Canada. For markets that are strategically important but also appear difficult to exploit, I recommend a beachhead strategy. The term beachhead refers to a niche market or a segment which is easier for the firm to enter and which can serve as an excellent base for migration into the bigger and more challenging market. In its own globalization journey, the Swedish furniture retailer IKEA has used Switzerland as a beachhead for entry into Germany and Canada as a beachhead for entry into the US. To sum up, The world is not just large, but also heterogeneous. When commencing their global journeys, companies should chart a migration path that maximizes the returns while minimizing the risks. Doing so requires paying attention to the strategic importance of each market, along with the company's ability to exploit the opportunities that lie there.